How quickly do you change your mind? Another way to ask, how quickly does the mind change? Are we even perceptive enough to actually be conscious of how quickly it's changing? Do we know it's changing? We know it's changing. Do we know it's changing? Was that exciting? Was that not exciting? Is this boring? How quickly is your mind just sifting through choices? And how is it that there's so much going on that you're actually making choices that you're not even conscious you're making? Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Thank you for supporting our efforts in this resource, the videos, the podcast, the website, the bookstore, all of it, because of your participation. So thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, part of that whole thing. Patrons. And that includes those of you who make actual in-cash donations on Patreon and PayPal, or maybe you just bought a book from the print store, the Lulu bookstore, or on the e-page and the e-books. Much more affordable, much less hassle with shipping and country codes and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Any way you support this effort is part of your bodhisattva practice. All right. What are we talking about? Mind changing. We're talking about, there we go, the 3,000 Realms. It's not a very big book, but it's very big in its concept. I still maintain that the 3,000 Realms in a single thought moment is the core of Nichiren's doctrine of Lotus Sutra practice. Lotus Sutras, the teachings of the Lotus Sutra of Shakyamuni, the great bodhisattva, Shakyamuni Buddha. It's not essential to practice Buddhism to start out with nailing this concept down, 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life. But anyone who's practiced Lotus Sutra Buddhism for months, maybe a year or two, we get curious. How does this work? How is this working? The first questions we ask is, what is this chanting about? What is the Daimoku about? Well, I just finished a whole book on the profound meanings of the Daimoku. Hopefully, watch the videos, buy the book, read the book, right? Don't just buy the book, put it on the shelf, now I know. So, yeah, I think that any one of us, whether we're, I'm built for research. I like to dig into things because I'm not confident in what I know until I dig into it enough that I have a foundation of not only this is what I know, but this is how I know. This is the way that I understand. And therefore what can I do? Samsara. I can own it. Hey, that's samsara. That's what we all are. The mission here is that we're not completely immersed in that so that we can't get above and get a breath of fresh air and experience life, right? This question's been with us since time immemorial, right? Statements or quotes like, you got to stop and smell the roses or the flowers, or insert your particular version here. We're constantly writers, poets, philosophers trying to find words to get us to just stop. Because we are momentum, so the idea of stopping isn't actual. The idea of stopping is stop being completely torn into the currents of the momentum of life, of the engine of life, and take a moment to look at what's going on. You're in a kayak going down the rapids, my friends. And if you don't peek ahead and see what your situation is, you're going to end up bouncing off a rock. Right? That's kind of how life feels sometimes, right? So, the 3,000 realms is a way of understanding that unless we make an effort, our mind, our perception, our experience of life is just going to blather on. We're moving. Right? We think we're just sitting on the couch watching TV and eating snacks. But remember, the earth is spinning at quite a clip. And the earth is spinning and orbiting the sun, which the entire solar system with the sun is flying around a spiral arm of the galaxy we call the Milky Way. Oh, and by the way, the Milky Way is moving at hundreds of thousands of kilometers per second. I mean, the speed, the idea of speed, the construct of momentum in the human mind it's so narrow. The actual fact of our momentum is unfathomable. And in that speed of causality, one thing happens and another thing happens and another thing happens, and we're never even conscious of that. We're way out here after a million things happen. We're like, huh? That's our human consciousness, right? That's why sometimes it seems like life is happening to us because we're so late to the game, we forget. We forget that we can make an effort and start influencing our momentum. No way. We can't think that fast. Yeah. We can think that fast, not consciously, not, okay, I'm now going to manifest this, although we can do that. The point is we can, with our minds, influence that pattern. And we could start to mollify it, modify it, influence it into a greater breadth of experience, a greater perception of what our life's momentum is doing. We become more participatory in the moment. And therefore, life isn't such a surprise anymore. We're not just constantly ducking, going, I don't know what's going to happen next. We kind of do. We have a greater sense of security. I am involved in my life. Oh, the universe isn't happening to me anymore. I'm part of it. I'm happening with it. This opportunity of seeing it, perceiving it, experiencing it is now for me to experience. That is what we're accomplishing with our Buddhist practice. That is our awakening, our enlightenment. Now, maybe that's all you need to know to go, oh, wow, this is why I need to chant, to awaken this mind of experience that's not so dulled by letting everything go by for so long. I can actually participate in my life. Woo! Maybe that's all the motivation you need. And that's wonderful. Happy for you. Just keep your practice strong. Chant every day, recite the Gongyo. Keep your mind, it's like exercise, right? While you're doing it, it's amazing. It doesn't take long after you stop doing it, you get flabby again and lazy and can't be bothered. Well, okay, don't be bothered, but life's going to continue, right? Body gonna body, for modern terms. So that's why the 3,000 realms is so important. Because at some point, you're going to need convincing. Maybe it takes a month, maybe it takes a decade, maybe it takes 4 decades. But at some point, you're going to go, why am I working so hard? Why am I chanting every day? Why do I have to do this? Is this just a habit? That may be part of it. That's our human samsaric being. We make habits of things that are nurturing to us, right? Shakyamuni talked about habit energy. Habit energy. It can work against you, but you can make it work for you. Oh, this headache. So the 3,000 realms is a deep dive in Buddhist understanding, Buddhist dissection, right? This is a lot of sutras, Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Tendai, right? Nichiren. Nichiren digs more into the scholarship where others have made the ground for him, right? He digs into things like the Daimoku and why that works and why it exists. But people like Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu and Tendai, they were digging into the very nature of why we need to do this. What is Buddhism? Of course, they're all diving deeply into what Shakyamuni was spent 50 years, actually more, of his life, well, say 50 years of his life, trying to educate others to reach for, to do, to make the effort. But we have thousands of years of scholarship to understand this very well. 3,000 realms is a way of us going, okay, right? Sutras, we know from expedient means, go to the point of unfathomable depth, innumerable, right? Those words, we hear them all the time. By the time you drop enough sands of grains of the world systems you've ground up and dropped for every world system, you go on and on and on, right? So the 3,000 realms is another one of those. The numbers aren't in and of themselves what's important. Well, what are the names of each one of those realms? Stop it. It's not about that. Well, is that the hell of Buddhahood, of animality, and how can they combine, and how many of them are there? At any given thought moment, there are over 3,000 realms that your mind has experienced. That's what I'm saying. How quickly does the mind change? Are we even conscious, aware of the mind changing? Or do we just respond to some momentum of choices? Right? Look up the word epistemology, and you'll begin to understand how human minds spend most of the time responding to influence, our own influences, some of which are buried so deep we're completely unaware. This is what Buddhism is pointing to and saying, look, you're not a victim of life. You're an active creator of your experience at a depth so profound that it's a useless exercise to sit down and try to journal. Although journaling, people do it, and it's successful because you get to see yourself and your thought process. That's an entry into what Buddhism is talking about here. But 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life, that's unfathomable. In the minutes I've been talking here, multiply 3,000 by how many moments we've experienced. Already we've talked a great deal about how long is a moment, the speed of causality. So that's what this concept is about. It's a reminder that as we look inward and we want to influence our life in a positive way, we have this huge amount of baggage we tend to carry with us. And in that baggage, we get attached. We stop cold. We stop growing. We think we're awake and experiencing. I mean, we're really just rehashing the past. It's about understanding the depth of what we're influencing and our capacity to do so. This is why our practice, our constant training, Namo Myo Renge Kyo, Namo Myo, it isn't about how many daimoku. It's about how your mind is influenced to pay attention, so that as you go through your day, you can experience all of this stuff of life without being sucked into it, because that's not life. Your life is as you make it moment to moment. That's it, that 3,000 realms in a single thought moment. I'm in it, I'm doing it, I'm influencing, I'm experiencing it in the now, not in the past. All right. We're almost done with this particular go-show, so let's get it done. Where are we time-wise? My timeline. There it is. Okay, we're doing good. Thanks again for being here. If your Lord, now he's talking to Shijo Kingo, right? So he says, if your Lord should summon you during the daytime, then go to him with all haste. We talked about that at the end of the last video. He tells him, but if he calls you at night, make sure it's him calling you, because there's a lot of divisive, angry people that don't like that you're calling what they've been doing culturally, right? Nembutsu, Zen, True Word. They don't like you're practicing Lotus Sutra Buddhism, listening to that Nichiren guy. We need to show you as a traitor, so Lord Emma will give us the position you have, so we can get your land, your fiefs, your women. Screw you, Shijo. Well, there's a lot of those out there, right? We read a Gosho where they manipulated a big debate, right? Public debates were a big thing back then. And they claimed that Shijo Kingo was there and standing up for his buddy Nichiren, and that pissed off his boss, Lord Emma, right? They put Shijo Kingo in hot water. Lord Emma took away some of his property and some of his status. No doubt these other manipulators were like, screw him, right? The truth came out with Nichiren's help, eventually. And Lord Emma probably more secured in his relationship with Shijo Kingo as a result, right? Because Shijo Kingo was very good with medicinal herbs and so forth and got Lord Emma through some crises. So that whole thing with those jealous samurai that would have him undone, it backfired. But, you don't want to go through life that way. So the next step is, if they can't embarrass you, they're going to try to harm you. And Nichiren is saying, don't be stupid. If your boss is calling you at night, that's suspect. And he says, let him call you 3 times. And it's not done on the phone. There's no text message in medieval Japan, right? You send a messenger. Well, some of those messengers might be working for those jealous samurai. So force them to make the effort at least 3 times. And then if you do go because you feel you must, bring a retinue with you. Bring some buddies. Be prepared. Send your own emissary to Lord Emma. Are you calling me? Right? It's just caution. Be aware. If you conduct yourself with such circumspection and the Mongols attack our country in the meantime, then people's feelings toward you will change from what they were before, and they will no longer think of attacking you as they would an enemy. right? If you're actually called upon to go to battle and protect your fiefdom, Lord Emma's lands, property, the people of this area, they'll back off of their jealousy about you. They'll really appreciate that you saved their ass. This is the nature of people, right? With regard to what you have written me, if you should be at fault, you should not think lightly of leaving your Lord's service, even less so if you are guilty of no error. In that case, you must pay no heed, regardless of what others may say. Right? You ever been discouraged to the point where, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing everything I can. My boss, he's being influenced by these idiots. I'm tired of it. I'm just going to quit. I'm going to walk away. And what Nichiren has been indicating in this Go Show is, well, if all you're doing is thinking selfishly, you might think that that's a wise thing for you to do. Just move on. But in reality, your life, your property, your ability to exercise your capacities to flourish is in part due to the support of your boss, Lord Emma. So you owe him the respect, the dignity of sticking around. And certainly if you're going to leave, it shouldn't be solely based on your emotions and what you feel, but that you're no longer an essential part or a part of the opportunity you're being given, right? Always with appreciation. And I talked about appreciation last time. It's not appreciation as in, I owe you $5. It's an appreciation truly of your own life. That's why I say dignity. Because if somebody gives you an opportunity, I don't know, say you build houses. Somebody hires you and you start working on building this house. Well, a way of looking at that is that what satisfies your life, what brings out your highest potentials, your engagement with your momentum, your life, not your past, but your now, is this person who hired you is your patron. They may not think of themselves that way, but you should think of them that way. That's the essential point here. See the appreciation? The appreciation isn't for them hiring you to do the job. The appreciation is that your life condition and what you enjoy and invest your life into is having an opportunity to be expressed. And it is your opportunity and your expression of your life that is meriting the support of a patron. See, we think backwards about that. Will you let me build your house? Oh, I need to charge you money. I'm so sorry. That's total brainwashing capitalist duh. The truth is, you've developed an expertise. And expressing that expertise is joy for you. And because of your expertise, others are attracted to see you do it. They get benefit out of it, and you get benefit out of it. And the point is to honor those that are attracted to give you the opportunity to express your potential. It's a very different way of thinking, yeah? And so if you get frustrated one day on the job and go, screw this, I'm going to go build something else. I don't like building this place anymore. You may think, well, you're betraying your contract to the guy who hired you. Yeah, samsarically, you wouldn't be wrong. Or maybe you have caveats in the contract where you can do that, whatever be the case. But the betrayal is really of your own abilities. You are not honoring your potential. You took on the job. You made the commitment. You see it through. Do it as best as you can. It is your potential. It is your life experience. Why would you crap all over that? It's not about the other. That may be a part of it, but that's not the appreciation we're talking about. It's the fact that you can appreciate that we're talking about. Make sense? As for your desire to become a lay monk, you may do so in the future. You're a samurai. You want to take on the life of a Buddhist monk, certainly in medieval Japan and before. That meant, remember, we've read about this before, leaving home, right? That was the traditional way you studied Buddhism, or many other things too. You had to leave the home life. We do it in a modern way now, and we go off to university, off to school. We have to leave the sphere of family to go off and develop our potential, yeah? So he's a samurai. He's fully engaged. Understand the depth of your desire to practice fully Buddhism. Totally appreciate that. Honor that. And that day may come. Because there are no 90-year-old samurai. Well, maybe they are, but not engaged in samuraiing. Yeah? Even then, if circumstances should arise that do not suit you in body or mind, negative influences will again seek to work upon you. It's not just because you're a samurai that you're running into these moments of doubt, self-questioning, attack. I mean, look at Nichiren's life. Yeah? These days, there are women who become nuns in order to deceive others, and men who become lay monks and commit great evil, negative influences in their lives. He's not accusing Shijo Kingo of that. He's just pointing out that simply leaving what you're doing to then commit to being a monk that's not what it's about. You may do that in your mind. You may do that right now as you are a samurai. Doing the show of doing it isn't the same as actually doing it, right? As I've said before, you can play at Buddhism. Show all your friends, look, I have one of these and I do this. Am I not cool? Well, if that's your motivation, what are you going to get out of it, truly? You must never become involved in such matters, Nichiren says. Don't do this just because you think there'll be some odd protection from doing it, right? Don't do it as a show. You're doing it now as you're asking me about consecrating your practice. That's being a monk. Even though you suffer from no illness, you should receive moxibustion treatment on one or two places on your body so that later you can plead illness should it become necessary. Ooh, that's an odd statement to hear in the midst of this discussion. I'm not sure about this. The suggestion is, if you didn't catch that, is that maybe, with everything that's going on with you right now and people trying to besmirch you, right, and devalue your service to Lord Emma, maybe, feign illness. Call somebody to do some chiropractic practice on you to claim that you're not fully healthy. That's why you didn't respond. Sorry. Cover your butt is what he's saying. I'm not sure how comfortable I am with that, but as Buddhists, we don't want to deceive. That's an evil act. But Nichiren is saying that maybe the commission of a negative act, given the circumstance, is some wisdom. I'm not sure if I want to buy into that, though. Maybe that's just Nichiren's heartfelt concern for Shijo Kingo, yeah? And if some kind of disturbance should occur for the time being, send someone else to observe what's going on. Don't just be called to any little frivolous matter. Send some underling to go, right? Don't be arrogant about, I must do what I am told and I am Shijo Kingo. Be a better manager of what's going on right now. This is a tumultuous time, certainly for you, Shijo Kingo. It is difficult to write down all that I would like to tell you. That is why I have not gone into matters of doctrine here. As for the sutra, I will copy it out for you when the weather gets a little cooler. With deep respect, Nichiren. So that's an interesting point to make right at the closing. They couldn't go to the bookstore. They couldn't go to threefoldlotus.com and order an ebook. Somebody had to actually transfer, and this is a large part of what Nichiren was doing while he was writing these letters and other things. He was copying the Lotus Sutra by hand to offer copies to people. And believe me, when you're working that hard to create a text, you don't want to just hand it out to anyone who walks by. You want it's a deeply felt offering, and it should be given to somebody who has a depth of respect and desire for it. So I think that speaks to Shijo Kingo saying he wants to become a lay monk. Nichiren is saying what you really want is the study material that you can really sit with and absorb these teachings for yourself, not just constantly asking me questions. I'll answer them. But like this letter, this is a compassionate letter for your situation. I didn't go through like often Nichiren digs through several sutras and folklore and gives examples. He didn't do that in this letter. But he's offering Shijo Kingo, calm down, be careful. Even if you have to do a little bit of manipulation to watch your butt, because there's a lot of people looking to X you out. This is a time to exercise wisdom. Use your position. And in the meantime, I'm working on a copy of the Lotus teachings for you to study, to be a monk, while you are samuraiing. Interesting. Gives us a kind of, I don't know, for me, it gives me a little bit more of a visceral experience, understanding, perception of what it might have been like to live in that time underneath those kinds of forces. Pretty interesting. Well, that ends that Gosho. And so the next one we're going to start is Letter from Terra Domari. And I know I've covered that Gosho a couple of times in different videos. But again, everything we're studying right now is within the context of 3,000 realms in a single thought moment of life. And so Nichiren's talking to Shijo Kingo about his attitude, his intent, and that doesn't necessarily mean that his samsaric activity needs to mirror it. His activity, whatever it is, like you and I, is influenced by our Buddhist study. Right? You don't have to be a monk living in a brick house away from civilization in order to inculcate the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. Maybe 1,000 years ago you had to. The nature of culture and the capacity of people was such that you needed separation, but no more. That's not modern Buddhism. To live in a monastery, that's a self-privation. We kid ourselves that that's somehow, yes, it's transformative, just like going to prison, hopefully, is transformative. But oftentimes, what's important isn't the isolation. What's important is paying attention to how our mind works. And that happens in any environment. This is why this is the age of propagation, because we live amongst our environment rather than isolated from it. What good is Buddhism, the goal of which is to express our life fully? What possible good is there in practicing a philosophy, a way of life, a way of thinking, to be admired in the process of life, kept in a box? How does that make sense? It doesn't. That's why if you want to be a monk today, start studying Buddhism. Study Nichiren, study Tendai, study the Lotus Sutra teachings. Bingo, you're a monk. You're taking it seriously. You're altering your experience of life. You're becoming more aware or awakening. It's something done in life, not separate from. Duh. Yeah. All right. That's enough for today. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's really critical to the algorithms, as it were, to make an effort to make this teaching more, propagate this teaching to more people, grow our Sangha. If you can purchase ebooks or print books, that's very much appreciated. If this is all about tools for your practice, right? The videos, the podcasts, the books, the ebooks, the website. It's all about, if you have a question, or if you have, for me, whenever I'm not sure what I'm doing and I need to return to practice, and I know my mind is saying, you need to practice, you need to da-da-da. For me, sometimes just reading a passage from Nichiren's writings or a different sutra is all I need to do to be motivated, to awaken that Buddha-ness in me. Yeah. So have a great day. Please take care of your health. Without the health, we have really nothing else. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being here. Bye.